Aaron Rodgers and Nathaniel Hackett had their comments back. I'll start with Aaron Rodgers, the star quarterback for the New York Jets. He was asked about it. He said he's not going to get too much into it, but he pretty much politely said, just keep my coach's name out your mouth. And as much as we've seen Aaron Rodgers, ride the bus over somebody else, back up, hit somebody else on his team, I respect Aaron Rodgers for making that comment. Stick it up for his offensive coordinator, a guy he's had a lot of respect for. It was a guy he was successful with in Green Bay.
Going back to Green Bay.
Won 2 MVPs with him as offensive coordinator. All About the Balls podcast with Mark Davis, Chris Meinhardt, Luke Rule, and Nick the Doc Skirkowitz. Hello and welcome to this Tuesday, August 1st edition of All About the Balls podcast. I'm your host, Mark Davis. Yes, you heard it right. It is August, everyone that's listening and watching out here. It is the time where preseason is upon us. We have the Hall of Fame game this week, preseason next week, college football later in the month, baseball's in full force. Welcome back, Doc, as well. Doc, how was that trip to Tennessee with the family?
Oh, unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. Just great to get out of the wilderness, get up in the mountains, turn life off for a week, just hang out with the family. Little one loved it. Black bears off the back deck. Just a great time. Went up, saw a whole lot of stuff. Did one of those, those Alpine roller coasters? Them little, you just get on a little like go-kart type deal and go down the mountain, even though you're not, not really a roller coaster, but kind of is. But it's like a single car roller coaster. But we did that. Unbelievable experience. Seeing the YouTube videos on it and finally being able to do it. I mean, it was just so much fun seeing the family. Love that side of the family. So just great to do that, man. Great to do that.
It looked like a great time. Yeah, it looked like a great time, though. Some of the photos I saw, definitely looked like a good environment out there. Like you said, you got away from the office for a week, just kind of a nice little getaway. I'm about to do a getaway in a few weeks to get my daughter back, so we'll pretty much have a week off in general. But, shout out to Luke, too. He's out there in the field. He's kicking ass. It's long days for him. Chris, we miss you in here. We know you had some family emergencies you had to take care of, so you do what you have to do. Be father of the year, man. Be husband of the year. Take care of the family. We'll get you back in here later in the week. Like I said, Doc, it's football time, dude. And it just seems the NFL always produces stories. And it just seems now that we always have the running back stories. That's nothing new in the NFL. But now a new running back is in the spotlight, Jonathan Taylor. But this time it's not because of, franchise tagging him or anything like that. It's because him and his owner, Jim Irsay, are having a feud. They just met last week. It was said, I respect Jim Irsay's comments. He told him straight up, hey, I'm not going to pay you. I'm not going to extend you. I respect that. You're honest to your star player. I don't agree he shouldn't get paid. He's your offense. But, I respect it up front. I respect Jonathan Taylor as well for demanding a trade, asking for that trade. You don't want to feel like you're valued. Okay, so you ask for a trade. You did the right thing. I don't think he was never not going to play. I don't think he was going to hold out. But Jim Irsay also made some comments, Doc, that he says if Jonathan Taylor's out of the league and I'm dead, no one's going to miss us. The NFL moves on. And then right after those comments, it's been rumored that he was going to put Jonathan Taylor on the NFI train, which essentially meant that they could not pay him for the amount of games he misses because he got hurt because of a non-football injury. And JT said that's completely bullshit. He's never had a back injury, never been hurt. What do we make of this Colts saga going on right now, this drama out there in Indianapolis?
Yeah, honestly, I kind of saw this coming. I don't think that this had to do with the comments about, if I'm gone, nobody's going to miss us, whatever. I think, this kind of just went right in line with, him standing up for Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, that whole situation. He was pretty vocal on Twitter or whatever the hell it's called now with that new logo. He was pretty vocal on standing up for his guy. That's his livelihood. It's his position. So you got to be, right? You expect that. But I think that this was just a cheap shot by Irsay to do this. Obviously something is missing here, right? Because if they're putting him on the NFI list and there's no backing to it, like JT says, like he claims, the NFL is going to step in pretty quick and go, hey, or the NFLPA at least is going to step in and go, hey, wait a minute, but the fact that this is going on as long as it has, there's something happening. And I'm not saying that either side is right or wrong. I'm just saying that we don't have all the facts, I don't think. Something's missing in context here. But, I definitely saw this comment after the comments that he made and going back to not wanting to pay. Great on Irsay for being up front with the star player, saying we're not going to pay you. But, a prime example, as to why running backs aren't getting paid. It's a guy coming off of an injury last year and I think the year before, or just last year?
No, the year before is when he had that mega year, and then everyone was high on him. And then, he missed some games last year, a couple good games, but that was about it. But
a down year overall. A down year overall. You know what I'm saying? So it's another prime example of why running backs aren't getting paid. You're not coming out here consistently. You're not putting in the work. I mean, you're putting in the effort. You know what I mean? But the numbers aren't showing for it. Running backs, we've said it before. I'll hit it again. Running backs are a dime a dozen. There's a lot of schemes. Doesn't matter who you put in there. You can put the mascot in there. He's going to make plays. He's going to get yards. He's going to move the ball up the field. He's going to control the tempo of the game. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying and again, this is where the context is kind of missing. I'm not disagreeing with Irsay. I'm not paying him. I think he's got to prove some stuff. If this is his contract year, I need to see something this year before we make a deal. We're not going into the season with a deal. You know what I'm saying? I'm not arguing for every penny for you. I'm sorry, not after last season. You kind of had, the year before, like you said, was a breakout year. You kind of had some momentum building up to it, some noise building up to it, but I haven't seen it to where you're not a Saquon Barkley, you're not a CMC, you're not Meckler. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I disagree there because this team is so reliable on Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman that, especially with a rookie quarterback that you're not going to pay, if, let's say, Anthony Richardson does succeed, let's say, he gets paid in 4 or 5 years, you're not going to have to worry about Jonathan Taylor. I mean, you can pay him one more contract. And when I say one more, you can do a 3-year contract, and when he's 27, move on, cut bait. But to sit here and say this early, you're not going to pay him, I understand and I respect that you're up front, but I wouldn't say that. I would want the guy to bust his ass, show what he's worth, pay him for a smaller contract. A 3-year contract is not a bad value. 27 is still a good age up to that age where he can still produce. And the fact is, back to that whole NFI thing, we just had an owner do some shady shit out there with the Commanders, Dan Snyder. And you saw him get the fucking boot. They kicked him out. If it comes out and you're doing this and you're trying to put a guy on NFI and you're trying to make sure he doesn't get no money, there's going to be investigations going on. And you don't want to be in the spotlight. You said you already had one owner out here getting let go, essentially. And these owners aren't going to back you if you're doing some shady shit. So you got to do the right thing. Still play him. If he's healthy and he says he's good, his back's fine, then fucking play him. Don't sit here and truly rob him of his money. I already think the tag's robbing people of money. But to sit here and not pay him, if that's the route you're going to go, that is pretty shady shit to me. And I will lose all respect in the Colts owner, Jim Irsay. I know he's had his issues in the past, but that will literally be the last straw I've had with Jim Irsay. If that is the truth, what Jonathan Taylor is saying is true.
No, absolutely. I agree 100%. I mean, I don't care who you are. I mean, if you're getting shafted and sidelined like that over some nonsense, I mean, that's cheating the game, cheating the system. You're cheating a man out of his livelihood. I completely agree with that. You'll never hear me say otherwise. But it doesn't change my mind on, this is your prove-it year. This is where you need to come out ready to play. You need to put up some numbers. You want that 3-year deal? Guess what? We had one great year. We had 1 year with a couple, with an injury and kind of a down year. So
his rookie year was good too. His first 2 years was phenomenal, and that's the thing is if you don't pay him next year, this is why I hate the tag, because what's going to happen is he's going to fucking tag him, and now we're going to sit here and we're going to go through all this again next year, and it's just so annoying because you could pay Jonathan Taylor, but if you can keep Jonathan Taylor for 3 more years on an actual good deal, you pay him a 3-year deal for, let's say, $70 million. What's that? That's almost say, let's say 60. Let's say 60. 23? Let's say 3 years, $60 million. That's a 20-year deal. Or something even less than that. Just do 3-year 45, make it 15 even. That's what a lot of running backs want anyways. If you see he's had 3 out of 4 good years, he's so young, he's not going to fall apart at this age. The age limit when they start to fall apart is 27, 28. So don't gyp him of his contract now. The tag's bullshit. I'm never gonna stand with the owners with that. I mean, I stand with the owners because they can play the system, because the system is there for them to play.
It's a business.
I think it's a bullshit system though. Not that they're not playing it the right way. They're playing it 100% the right way, but it's bullshit in general. It's just a bad rule for the players.
Right, and you and I, we had some disagreement on different scenarios with the franchise tag, and I think that it kind of depends on the situation, right? So if you're talking this year as a franchise year for him, after last season, you're going to tag him. That's how it's going to go. Lamar Jackson, no, he should not have been tagged. You know what I mean? Saquon Barkley should not have been tagged. But if you're talking,
but JT shouldn't be tagged neither because he is the offense, especially with a young
quarterback. Coming off of last year, if this was his tag year, but it's not, right? So he's got to prove it year right now. Yes, if he goes off this year and he's back to prime JT that we know, prime JT that we love, pay them again, right? But the reality is, when you're coming off a season like he had last year, there's so many what ifs. You can play the game all day long. There's so many scenarios you can run through your head. The season that he had last year, this is a prove it year. I'm not saying jump to the franchise tag. I'm not saying cut him. I'm not saying, the NFI list, but this is your year where you are, hey, if he's right by the deadline, we can talk contracts throughout the season as the season goes. But I want to see that you're going to be healthy because we've seen too many players consistently injured throughout the years, guys that should be shining stars that just continue to be hurt. I want to see, and we'll talk more about that in baseball, but I want to see you prove everything this year. If I see, and it doesn't have to happen by a certain time this year. Yeah. You make the plays by the end of the year. Let's do it. Let's make the deal. Let's give you the 3-year deal. You know what I'm saying? But if he comes out week 4 and gets hurt and is out until 12, and you say 3 years, $60 million deal, no big deal, right?
I'm saying if he gets hurt,
right, yeah, and if he gets hurt early on this year and it becomes a trend, you say he's a big part of the offense, I agree. But if he's out and he's hurt, he ain't doing nothing for that offense. Honestly, even the games that he played last year, he was not stellar by any means.
No, he had a couple
I don't think he was shit. Yeah,
he
wasn't shit, but he wasn't the JT that we know and love. So I want to see him come out, perform. This is a prove it year for me. If I'm Jim Irsay, you know what? Comments be damned. Focus on this year, because I'm going to tell you right now, if Richardson goes off and, he progresses well throughout this season in his rookie campaign and JT is putting up the numbers, it's going to change Jim Irsay's tune. Because if you got a winning team, you're going to continue. You're going to build around in the offseason. You're going to pay the guys who deserve to be that are keeping you in that spot. It's going to change by the end. I guarantee it.
We'll see. We'll keep. It's definitely an eye to keep on, or something to keep an eye on, because, like I said, training camps or preseason's coming up. We're going to see if he's even going to play. What's going on with so-called injury. We'll see if Jim Irsay does change his mind. Let's hope that John Taylor goes out and balls out, and let's see if that forces Jim Irsay's hand, and we'll see if he gets paid. Doc, though, you mentioned injuries being a part of the game, and Tim Patrick, a lot of Bronco fans, I have a couple of them in my office here, they're high on Tim Patrick. They wanted him back. Last year he tore his ACL in training camp. This year he tore his Achilles just a couple days ago, or yesterday, I believe.
Prime example.
And they lost KJ Hamler as well, who got designated, but they plan on bringing him back whenever he can get back. He has a heart issue, so he's going to be out for a little while too. So the Broncos just lost 2 of the receivers that they were hoping to have. They still do have Cortland Sutton, and they still do have Jerry Jeudy, and they did draft Marvin Mims out of Oklahoma this year. So that is their top 3 on the depth chart at the moment. Also, Russell Wilson's having issues with the system that Sean Payton's installing, Doc. How worried should the Denver Broncos offense be, especially with Javonte Williams coming back from an injury, so we don't know how the run game's going to be there. How worried should the Broncos offense be heading into the season?
Well, I don't think it's time to panic yet. I think there's still some time in the season to kind of, get Russell into that system with Sean Payton. I think, as far as the injuries go, I mean, that's just part of the game. You still got a couple of solid 1 and 2 receivers. Mims, I like to pick up out of Oklahoma. I don't think we're quite in panic mode yet, but I think we're getting there. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of it is going to rely on how Russell adapts to this Sean Payton system. I don't think it's an overly complicated system. I think that Russell, in my opinion, is just struggling. You and I talked a little bit before the show. I think, it's just some kind of struggle of adapting to not having the control that he's used to having in his organization, his team getting kicked out when Sean Payton took over. I just don't think that he has the say, rather, in what's going on as much as he had hoped. And now it's kind of, Sean Payton came in knowing what needed to be done with this team, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the past regimes. But I think he came in and just kind of took on that put up or shut up mentality, and a lot of guys, were like, oh, okay, yep, time to get real. And Russell was like, now I operate, and Sean was like, I don't give a shit. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's I think the quicker he realizes he just needs to take a back seat and a step back and just kind of realize that he's not a head coach. Like, it's nice having that say in everything, but you've got a new coach coming in. Again, relax, do what you're told, get in there, learn the system. Once you've mastered the system, then you've got an opportunity to put some input and kind of dictate some options in the game. But if you cannot figure out the system, the playbook, everything else, and you can't make it happen, why am I going to give you say? You know what I'm saying? Because if you can't do it on what's scripted for you, you ain't going to be able to make it work on what you want. So
no, yeah, I understand that. I mean, I'm a little worried. I wouldn't say I'm too worried about Russ yet.
Definitely,
like you said, it's training.
Worried.
I'm not saying 100% worried at the moment. It's training camp, so we're going to see how it unfolds during preseason when they do run the vanilla style offense versus vanilla style defense. We'll see that. And we'll see when it comes into the season, when they start opening up and get ready for the first few weeks. I am a little worried about the wide receiver core, though, just because Jared Jeudy has a history of being, banged up throughout the year. He's a small receiver. It seems. I don't think he's that big. He doesn't look that big, at least. And he seems like he's always nicked up. Sutton, I know he had some issues last year as well. So this is a wide receiver core that has not seemed to have been healthy. And I'm sorry, like in the AFC that is so competitive, you need a good, at least duo receivers that are going to start consecutively and consistently and be with your quarterback and have that chemistry. Like you said, Doc, I think the Marvin Mims pickup's great. I thought he was good at Oklahoma. I think that he'll help any team. But to be your third receiver in a rookie year where maybe you aren't ready to be in that role yet, we're going to have to keep an eye on him. But Sutton and Jeudy have to stay healthy, because if they don't, this team is going to be so far behind other teams. Like I said, Javonte Williams is coming back from a nasty injury. We're going to see what him and P. Ryan can do together, and that can take the load off for us. But Jeudy and Sutton have to stay healthy, because this receiver core does not seem deep right now with the injuries that already occurred. If they didn't have these two injuries, you can miss a guy here and there. That's completely fine. I understand that. But now you're down Tim Patrick, KJ Hamler. This offense needs to get some consistency there. They have to have the core there, because, like you said, it's not a complicated offense, but it's new. So all these players are learning it, and you just can't be missing time. That's going to take it's going to help the pressure off Russ too if your receivers are there and healthy. So I think it's an issue for the receiving core right now. The receiving core in Denver, I think that's a big problem at the moment. I'm not sold on Denver's receiving core, honestly. I'm just not sold on them.
Yeah, I mean, kind of going back the last couple of years, I mean, it's been a consistent – that's the only consistent thing, is that it has been inconsistent on this team. Obviously there's some worries with the injuries, even with, what's left on the receiving core. I don't think it's a bad core to have, but again, it's, being able to show up, make plays, and being able to stay healthy. But, the argument of having a good 1-2, I mean, you can make that argument with any NFL team. You know what I mean? If the Bears had receivers, look where they'd be. You know what I'm saying? Before they got rid of their defense. But, it's just it's part of the game. It's where guys got to step up, and you've just got to hope they stay healthy. But, Sutton and Jeudy, I mean, I don't think that, that's a bad 1-2 combination to have. And Mims coming up, I think, is going to slide in nicely and get a good opportunity to kind of step up and find his role in the organization. So it'd be nice to see, him kind of evolve and step up, take that spot, so that if another injury does occur, he can slide right in and make some plays happen. But I'm going to be honest, I think looking top to bottom on this team, I think my concern lies mostly with Russ over the receiving core.
I mean, that makes sense.
Another injury.
He's coming off that bad year. I mean, I do apologize.
Yeah.
Sutton and Jeudy haven't missed as much games I thought they had the last 2 years combined. They have missed a few games each season, but it just seems like I wouldn't say that they're hurt. It just seems like they're invisible. Like, I mean, Sutton, especially last year, disappeared a lot. It seemed like whenever I was watching Broncos
the
games.
Core, that's the thing. The biggest consistency, like I said earlier, about this receiving core is the inconsistency.
Yeah.
And them being able to show up and play. And Sutton and Jeudy absolutely have the talent and the makeup to be
I
a
agree.
spot-on 1-2 combination in this league. So they come out, and this is where it goes back to Russ. If Russ is performing, Russ is stepping up, doing what he needs to do, he gets his system down, he can absolutely make them into stars. They're capable of doing it without Russ, but obviously he's their quarterback, so they need him. But, these are two guys that can be standouts in the league, and Russ can help make it happen, and Russ can be a standout himself. It's just that's why my biggest –
He's on a
exactly, and that's why my biggest concern this year is Russ, because these two receivers can absolutely make it happen. Mims can absolutely be, similar to what we saw. I'm not even going to go down the list. I mean, we can do this all day long, but he can absolutely be a stud rookie receiver for this team now that he's pretty much guaranteed to get some targets with the openings in the roster. But, that's where it's going to come down to Russ to step up and make plays. We saw the struggles last year. He's got to step it up. He's got to be that veteran quarterback, that Russ that we knew in Seattle. I honestly – there's so many things that we can think about as far as, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I just want to get this point out, but there's so many things that we could think about as to why Russ struggled. But honestly, I think that he just came out of Seattle and came into Denver, and I think that he was expecting it to be an easy transition, and it wasn't. And I don't know if he just didn't put the work in or what, but I mean, Russ has got to step his game up this year. That's all there is to it. The receiving core, I'm not even going to say, despite the injuries that we've seen already this year, I'm not even going to say the injury core relies on being healthy. I'm going to say it relies on Russ.
Yeah, and that's something I definitely agree with you. Like Sean Payton alluded to, he did say the team last year, even though it wasn't just Nathaniel Hackett, he did call out the team in general, especially the offense. It was a lot more than Nathaniel Hackett, yes, but Russ was part of the problem. I think he had distractions on his mind. He maybe self-enforced distractions because, personally, it looked like he thought his ego was already too big. So, personally, I think his ego was already too big, so that's kind of what it was. But, Doc.
That's what I thought. I thought he was going into Denver, thought Denver had a made-up team top to bottom, thought he was just going to walk in and win a championship. I kind of got that image of what he kind of walked in, Big Dick Russ, Big Dick energy. Thought, I'm here. I'm all y'all needed. We gonna win now, baby. No, it didn't happen.
Yep. But no, that's definitely. I think minus the Jets, I think this is definitely one of the most interesting teams, just because Sean Payton's coming in town. Russ is on a prove-it-year deal. But Doc, speaking of the Jets, I mentioned Hackett. We did talk about it last week, but Hackett and Aaron Rodgers, they definitely had their chance to respond. And I know you're tracking what Sean Payton said and the bullshit excuse he had and the little, fake apology, I guess it sounded like he had to do, but Aaron Rodgers and Nathaniel Hackett had their comments back. I'll start with Aaron Rodgers, the star quarterback for the New York Jets. He was asked about it. He said he's not going to get too much into it, but he pretty much politely said, just keep my coach's name out your mouth. And as much as we've seen Aaron Rodgers, ride the bus over somebody else, back up, hit somebody else on his team, I respect Aaron Rodgers for making that comment. Stick it up for his offensive coordinator, a guy he's had a lot of respect for. It was a guy he was successful with in Green Bay.
Going back to Green Bay.
Won 2 MVPs with him as offensive coordinator. I know it was a lot more than just Nathaniel Hackett. They had LaFleur as well. So I respect Aaron Rodgers for making that comment. And you know what? Good for Nathaniel Hackett for sticking up for himself too, because he said, you broke the code, man. Like, that's the coaching code. We're brothers here in the league, even though I might have screwed up the Denver Broncos. I was part of that. But you don't call me out like that, especially when he has nothing to do with the Denver Broncos right now. Yes, you can say, like I told Chris and Luke, you can say the Denver Broncos have a lot of issues. We got to pick up the pieces here. It was just a bad situation that happened last year, and then leave it at that. You don't have to mention names to get personal. I agree with Nathaniel Hackett, Aaron Rodgers, and Robert Saleh. Just shut the fuck up, Sean Payton, and worry about the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, the Broncos have been an issue going back several years.
Since Payton retired,
best way. 100%. Since that playoff run against
it was Brady and Cam.
Cam Newton's Super Bowl. Honestly, I think that Sean Payton just kind of got ahead of himself and overthought some things. And, like we talked about earlier, I think he just kind of made a comment to pre-allude a excuse for why the Broncos are the way they are in case he can't fix them right, which was a mistake on his part. And like you said, Rodgers, I respect him stepping up, standing up for his coach. You got to do that because you don't, And he did it in the best way possible. He used as minimal words as possible. Didn't really, said keep my coach's name out your mouth. He Will Smithed him, but he didn't slap him across the face. You know what I'm saying?
He probably would have if he was next to him, to be honest. He probably would have slapped him just like that. It's the Aaron Rodgers way, though. He's not a very guy that – I mean, he could talk, but he's very short and to the point. I mean, he's just – I was waiting for him to say, keep my fucking coach's name out your mouth. That's what I was hoping. I was always going to drop the fucking F-bomb and just be like, yo, just shut the fuck up, dude. Like, I mean, this New York vibe, though, if you see Rodgers, he looks a lot happier. I mean, him and Sauce are vibing, getting chains on in the locker.
He's got options out there. He's got weapons.
Oh, yeah. He's happy.
He's got a future out there.
It's a fresh start, and I think that if this was a Green Bay Aaron Rodgers, and let's say it wasn't Hackett, they call it another coach, I don't think he would have been as quick to pull that trigger to back or to defend his coach. So I think the New York vibe has got him good.
No, if he was in Green Bay, he probably would have made a comment similar to something like, let's see, what can I come up with?
Oh, he should have never left us. Oh, he should have never left Green Bay.
No, he would have said something more like, am I allowed to make a comment on this, or do you want to bring Jordan Love in to comment on it?
Yeah, he would have said something smart. He would have ran over that coach that they called out. He probably would have backed up Sean Payton, but I respect Rodgers for saying this. Yeah.
Yeah, and I respected it and crossed the line. He just made it clear, hey, leave it alone. Shut your mouth, that's it. You know what I'm saying? He didn't really attack back, and as the leader of that team, and even coming in, he's the leader of that team, standing up for his guys, let them know, that brings that cohesion together with the team, unifies them and everything, and fake apology or not from Sean, I mean, I still respect that at least because I think deep down, no matter how, no matter the delivery, I think he realized like shit. Yeah, no, I shouldn't have done that.
I would have just said, just don't say it. Don't even apologize, man. Just keep it. It makes week 5 juicier, honestly, more spicy. But
I'm gonna laugh when they come out and fucking stomp them.
When they stomp New York, or New York stomps them?
No, New York stomps them. New York's gonna kick the shit out of them.
The only thing I'm having it when we talk, because we're gonna predict these games. It's in Denver, so that's a hard stadium to play. Denver's defense still isn't bad, so we'll a little early to break that game down because we don't know what's gonna be like with the teams back, by week 5, which is like another month and a half, literally 2 months. So, speaking of the Jets, though, Doc, Jets and the Browns this week, we have our first preseason action. It is the Hall of Fame game. We're not going to really go into details about it. We'll probably cover it on the Friday episode. I like to see some of these backups. I don't know how far. We're going to see a lot of rookies. I'm excited to see Cedric Tillman from the Browns. He's a University of Tennessee third-round pick. Zach Wilson's probably going to play a little bit. Aaron Rodgers has been coaching him up a lot on the field. So, interested to see some football. I don't care if it's shit, if it's the third strings versus each other. It's definitely more exciting to see the USFL and the XFL, in my opinion. So, ready for some football.
Yeah, I mean, definitely ready to just see the NFL get back. But I don't know. I don't know what's more of a joke, the Hall of Fame game or the Pro Bowl. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the third stringers going out there. And
Pro Bowl's more of a joke. Yeah, Pro Bowl's more of a joke.
I don't know, man. The lack of defense in the Pro Bowl is pretty similar to what you see from the third and fourth string in the practice squad.
Yeah, but they're playing vanilla style, so they're not even really playing like a true form. Like they're just playing basic formations.
This is why. So we've moved to London, right? Baseball's moved to Mexico and playing games. This is why you need to take the game if you want the Jets and Broncos. Take their Week 5 matchup, call it the Hall of Fame game, play it in Ohio, right? That's where the Hall of Fame's at?
Yeah, it's in Canton, Ohio. Yep, Canton, Ohio.
Yeah. Play the game there. Make it a regular season game. Like, they need to stop fucking around with this before the preseason bullshit because everybody knows you ain't playing the starters, especially with the injuries that we've seen this year. Everybody knows you ain't playing. So put the shit, pick the game. The team, the game that you want it to be, whatever your decision-making factor is to pick who it's going to be before the preseason, apply that to the regular season, pick the game, have those two teams play in Canton, call it a fucking day. Call it a Hall of Fame game.
You'll see the starters week 2 of the preseason when they play about maybe a quarter and a half or so.
You'll see them week 1. They'll play the first drive in week 1.
Yeah, they'll play the first drive week 1. They'll play about almost a half in week 2. Week 3, they're not going to play at all because that is the last preseason game. It used to be 4, but now it's only 3. So it used to be that third. It used to be that third. Yeah, it used to be that third preseason game was the dress game where you'd play a half.
Yeah.
And then, but you have to have that. You have to have some game speed. You can't just go out there with no
I get
speed
that, but
at all.
not the Hall of Fame game.
No, yeah, the Hall of Fame game is just for backups, essentially.
If I'm fucking Brian Urlacher getting elected to the Hall of Fame and I'm out there watching this game and I'm watching fucking Joey Smart, you know what I'm saying? It's not even a real player, right? But I'm watching some fucking snuffies that can't even tie their own laces, and they're out here, you know, under center, running routes like.
It's evaluate your backups who are going to be, you know, the deep depth guys that are trying to make the team.
No, it ain't. Not the Hall of Fame game. Come on.
Well, yeah, it's because it's your third, fourth stringers that are borderline making the roster.
But dude, this isn't preseason. This is two teams out of
it's considered it's considered a fourth preseason game for the Jets and Browns, who are the other teams. So
dude,
they essentially pick for the Hall of Fame game. They pick
put some respect on it.
Well, it's essentially so you got your Hall of Fame class, and then they pick one of the players that represents that team that's in there. So the Jets, Darrelle Revis, I forgot who the Browns, or Joe Thomas. So both of them are in the Hall of Fame. They chose the Jets, Browns. They play each other. That's essentially how the Hall of Fame selection works. They just pick two teams out of the representatives, essentially.
Then do the same in the regular season.
But no, besides this, Doc, after this we have legitimate preseason games. So we'll get excited to that. August, by the way, out there is one of my favorite months because it is the Little League World Series. To me, it's one of the best tournaments in sports. I love it. Grew up watching it with my family, my grandfather, and my aunt and uncle. We watch it heavily. And August is Little League World Series time, too. So go USA. I know I'm repping the jersey. This is a men's World Cup jersey, but
I'm disappointed in Team USA.
Yeah, hey, we advanced. That's good enough, but we need to get better. We got to show some passion out there, girls. We got to get fucking going. We got to win this World Cup, dude. We got to get three in a row.
We got to do better than 43-1 against the Netherlands.
Yeah, we have to stop. It's just okay, let's talk about real quick for baseball. We're at baseball with the last second half, but Women's World Cup. I didn't get to watch last night's game because it was just on too late. I didn't set an alarm to wake up at midnight for it. But
you're talking about Little League World Series. When did you move on to the World Cup?
I was because I mentioned. Dude, it was the same situation. Literally, you were talking about the same. Yeah, it was the same. Well, I mean, they both for the women's World Cup though. I mean, they need to start showing some passion out there and start fucking winning because we won 2 in a row for the World Cup for the women's. We need to fucking get this third one in a row. It's this mediocrity bullshit against these teams that we should be blowing out. It needs to stop now because this isn't the group stage anymore, girls. Get it together. Fucking bring the gold back home to the United States. Tell them, Doc. Tell them, go USA, man. It's what we need to fucking have out there.
Oh, go USA, dude. I mean, yeah, it's time to pony up. You know what I'm saying? Stop fucking around. Narrowly advancing the World Cup. We're out of group play. You don't have, 4 games to make up ground. You got to win them all from here on out. So time to stop fucking around. Time to tie the laces up and get to work.
Do what you've done the last 2 World Cups, girls. Bring it home. Doc, speaking of bringing it home, we're going to bring it home the last second half of this episode with some baseball talk. We are the baseball pundits on the show. I know I'm a little behind in baseball. The last year or so, I've kind of fallen off. Been a little busy, but I still keep on. I don't watch as heavily as I used to, but I'm still in the up and coming, or I'm still keeping up with the current events, I guess you can say. Watching as much games as I can. It's been a bad year for my Yankees, even though we are, now 3 games above 500 after tonight's loss to the Tampa Bay Rays. It's been a bad year. Judge lost
a series at the Orioles for the first time since 2016.
The Orioles are surprisingly
lost the season series.
They're a contender, Doc. They're
in first place.
They are. Are they a contender or are they a pretender? Is the AL East this year just there just to look good? I mean, we have the AL West, the Rangers and Astros, who in my opinion are going to be the representative. One of those 2 teams will represent the American League this year. And let's talk about it, Doc. The trade deadline was today. Some of these teams, a lot of teams went after pitching. The Dodgers went after pitching, the Rangers, the Astros, teams that needed it heavily. I thought the Rangers did a good job getting Jordan Montgomery, getting Max Scherzer. Yes, they're maybe not been their best stuff this year, but I think they'll be a lot better coming to Texas. Texas has a phenomenal starting lineup right now.
On the Angels now.
The Angels made some moves too. After which, me and my buddy Jake, we're gonna try to get him as a special guest on here.
Let's not skip on the most baffling fucking team in all the MLB to not sell Trout, hold on to Ohtani,
Yeah.
and make just enough moves to pretend to be serious about contending, but not enough to really be contending.
To try and trick Ohtani essentially for staying. That's what they're doing. They're trying to manipulate him just to staying. We'll see if they're going to offer him what they say $700 million, what it's going to take to get Ohtani. We're going to see if they can do that. I think if they don't sign him, it's definitely the biggest L of the trade deadline. That we won't see that L until February, March, till whatever or whenever they start signing free agents, because the Angels, they're in that. I'm telling you, Doctor, and that I think they're in a tough division with the Rangers and Astros right now. Which your team sold players to. The White Sox are selling it left and right as well, man. And there were rumors that the Astros were going to buy on some of those players. I don't think they did, but yeah, your White Sox were big sellers this year.
Oh, huge sellers. More moves coming than I'm just getting news on right now. But no, I mean, definitely surprising moves by the Angels. Not surprising in the sense of them trying to be contenders, but it was just like it's such a smoke show, in my opinion. And honestly, first of all, I don't think there's an MLB team that can offer Shohei $700 million. I mean, at most, probably a 10-year deal. I mean, nobody's.
It might be a 12-14. It might be a 12 or 14-year deal.
Even then, dude. I mean, you're talking right now. The highest I think was Trout, $450 for 10 or 12 years.
Judge was just below him. He didn't even reach Trout's number.
Well, and rightfully so. When Trout signed that deal.
Trout was the best. Was arguably the. I mean, actually, wasn't even argued to me. He was the best player when he signed his contract.
Yeah, Trout. What Judge may got a little bit more in the pop for power. I mean, it doesn't mean that Trout's not putting up the power, but Trout's got the on base, the slugging, the average, everything else. But if Shohei stays in Los Angeles, it will be the biggest mistake of his career.
The question is, if he stays in Los Angeles, will it be the blue and white team that goes after him? Will it be the Dodgers?
What do you mean?
Will the Dodgers be the team that
if he doesn't?
LA? Yeah, will that be the LA team that he stays? He stays in Los Angeles. I know it's Anaheim, but he stays in the Los Angeles market.
So it's going to depend on what the realistic value of his signing is. But I have to look at because the Dodgers are already over the luxury tax. I don't think the Dodgers can afford to sign him because the amount that they're going to pay in tax for being that far over, I have to look and see what's coming up in the payroll and how much they can really afford to do.
We just talked about this the other day. Yesterday in my office, the MLB, I forgot about this. They made the Dodgers make cuts because they were so far. They couldn't afford it. Like, when it came down to it, they were at $1 billion payroll. What was it, in 2016 or so, 2018? They had to make a big cut. I think my buddy said that, I don't know if it's official, but the MLB also helped the Dodgers make some of those payments because they just couldn't do it. And the Dodgers would need an Ohtani, though. They need pitching. They did just get pitching, though, from the White Sox, Joe Kelly, and I forgot who was the starter they got from the White Sox.
I don't really call that good pitching.
Well, they got Joe Kelly. Yeah, they got Joe Kelly back, though, famous Dodger after that Carlos Correa moment. But yeah, they need pitching bad, and Ohtani would help out there. He'd also be a bat for the Dodgers too. I mean, I think every team could use an Ohtani on their team.
100%, but I think the last team in the league that's going to get him is the Dodgers, and I think the second to last team is the Yankees, unless the Yankees offload some serious cash over to the Angels in terms of contracts. But I'm not even going to speculate where he goes right now because it's clear that he's staying on the Angels. Yeah, I mean, now that we know he's staying, we got time to speculate that for the rest of the season and into the offseason. But overall, I just think that would be a huge mistake. I mean, looking at Trout and, he's put up with the Angels as long as he has and how they've failed miserably, getting Pujols just before the end of his prime. Just enough to get
that was it.
Good 2 years out of him, and that was it. Rendon, I think one good year out of Rendon.
I don't think he even got one.
I think they had one pretty decent year out of Rendon.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, they won the series. The Nationals won the series in 2019 because the Dodgers won the COVID year. He left, if I'm not mistaken, with the following year. and going into the COVID year. I mean, it wasn't COVID year officially when he signed. So here, I have his numbers right here. Anthony Rendon with the Dodgers. So he's been with the Dodgers since 2020. His best batting average, he batted 286 his first year. But he also only played 52 games. I mean, that was COVID year, I guess. So COVID year was the only good year in a shortened season.
That's what I'm saying. It was a solid year, but it was still a solid year.
Yeah, and 58 games. I mean,
it wasn't like he played 52 and everybody played 160. I mean, you got to put everybody against each other. He played.
But he's been hurt. But he's been hurt every year since that year. Even this year, he got hurt. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Just never worked out.
Pujols, like the Angels, just continue to pretend like they give a shit. I think that they're just not truly in contention, which is weird when you've got a Mike Trout on your team. People want to come and play. Even Lucas, alluded to being in that playoff race with Trout and Ohtani. So, they're doing a fucking smoke show for the marketing for Ohtani and Trout, and they're not actually trying to win with him. So, best of luck to all of them going into this season. I hope Lucas finds somewhere that can actually win with him. I hope Ohtani goes somewhere that can actually appreciate him. And I hope Trout just genuinely likes being in LA.
I think he likes it there.
He had the opportunity to go to the Phillies and he just liked being out there. So, he doesn't, I don't think he cares about winning. He's getting paid. He just likes being out there.
Before we move on, what is your bold prediction? It might not be true. Where does Ohtani land in 2024? When it's all said and done, what is the team he will be playing for? He'll be a dual player out there. He'll be pitcher and hitting. Where is he going to be at, Doc? I'm thinking the Giants are going to make a steal for him. I think the Giants are heavy on Aaron Judge. I think they're going to throw a lot of cash his way. I don't think they have a lot of payroll or big stars out there right now. Bring in Ohtani, build around him in San Francisco. They're only a couple games out of first two in the West, so they're only a couple pieces away. It seems like to be contenders. Truthfully, I think the Giants can make a big steal for him.
I think there is one team that can afford the lofty contract that he will bring. A team that is young enough, that has enough control over the folks that they've got playing that are contenders right now. I'm going to go a three-way tie as far as who's going to get him. In no particular order. I'm going to start with the two obvious, Braves and Rays. I think Atlanta and Tampa Bay especially, we know how desperately they need pitching. Every year they attack pitching at the deadline, and providing that bat as well. I think that would be the final piece that the Rays need. Same thing for the Braves. I think it gives them another strong arm in the rotation and another great bat to play in the DH spot.
That'd be house money too to go to the Braves. How good they are. They didn't really do much at the deadline. They did get Brad Hand, another pitcher that they really don't even need.
I have to look them up, but I don't think their payroll is too crazy.
And it's spread out too. Everyone is spread out for the most part. Like they have a couple guys here and there. It's like every other year they have a guy that is due. So they are really playing. Yeah, that management is definitely spreading the payout strategically too. Because like I said, they're probably the best team in baseball right now. Right at this moment, they're the best team in baseball. And if he does go to Atlanta, Doc, if there's no injuries,
I'll wait to hear my next one.
Please don't say it. Wait. I'm hoping you don't say in the Boston. Please don't say Boston. That's
no,
all I don't
want.
No. Okay, because people are saying Boston's going to be into him. So
no, Boston's. Everybody's going to be into him. Everybody's going to make a pitch, but the real players are gonna emerge. But one team that I think can actually afford to throw the ridiculous money at him because their team is so young and they have so much team control. My dark horse. You heard it here first. I'm going Chris Gemeinhardt here. We miss you, Chris. I'm going to do this one for you. Turn it the fuck up. You heard it here first. The Baltimore Orioles are signing Shohei Ohtani.
Damn. Luke would be happy with that one. Yeah, Luke would be happy with that. I mean, he might actually watch the Orioles.
Think about it. The young talent on that team.
Yeah.
They don't have any crazy money tied to anybody. They've got control over the bulk of this team. They've still got guys down in the minor leagues that are ready to come up. And the way that they're competing right now, you're talking this is a team that feels like this is their piece to win it all. If they're doing this with the youth that they have, the inexperience that they have, and they've still got a lot of talent in the minor leagues knocking on the door to come up here, Shohei is just the last piece.
If they're aggressive enough to compete with the big boys, like the spender-wise, I think it's a good fit. I mean, yeah, it's definitely a good fit, Doc. And you mentioned the Orioles competing. Who are some of your second-half contenders? Because right now we're in that stretch of August, September, October baseball where now we're going to get excitement. It's the summer now, going into fall very shortly. Who are some of your contenders? Are the Orioles serious even though they're there? Are the Rays going to find a way back to get a hold of the AL East? We saw the Dodgers, like I said, the Dodgers and the Rangers and the Astros, they made big moves with the pitching trades. Who are we going to see emerge to that top of the crop, essentially, besides Atlanta? We know Atlanta's going to be there. We can exclude them. We already know that they're one of the best contenders in baseball. Who is going to compete with Atlanta?
I'm going to just start with each of the divisions. I'm not really going to go in a wild card. I'm just going to kind of start with the divisions. AL East, I think Baltimore's going to collapse, and I think that's what's going to drive them to go so hard for Ohtani in the offseason. I think realizing how close they got with the crop that they have, I think that's what's going to make them push so hard for it. And they are going to be, like you said, are they going to be a contender to step up and pay? And I think that they're going to be one of the few teams that can. The Dodgers have to offload way too much to do it. Dodgers have to trade all of their salary in order to afford a contract like that. Even Tampa Bay is paying out some money. So as much as I think Tampa Bay is in that race, they've still got to offload some money.
And if he goes to Tampa, they might have to build a new stadium because he's been hitting the roof a lot out in Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
I mean, that roof's going to be getting a lot of holes and dents in there and dings. So.
No, I'll start with the AL East, though. I think Baltimore falls off. I think the inexperience catches up. It's great the run that we've seen, and I love the energy and the vibes that we're seeing from them. I love what is in store, what's to come for this team. I think we're going to see the Orioles come back, I think, for the first time since, the 70s, Brooks Robinson days. So very excited to see this team is competitive again, or Cal Ripken Jr. days even. I think Tampa Bay is going to retake.
They were good for a few years with that, the Adam Jones days. They weren't like great, but they were competing. They were there.
They started, but they weren't real competitors.
They were decent last year for the first beginning of the year, and then like you said, they had experience. But they're getting better and better. Is what it seems like every year.
They are.
It's just more and more.
They are. I think they fall out of it. I think that the inexperience takes over. I think that the tried and true with the Rays jumps back into first. I think the Yankees make a strong second half push because that's what they've been known to do the last couple of years. They've had some slow starts early on in the season and come back strong in the second half. I am very much expecting them to. I mean, Luis Severino got absolutely rocked.
Yeah.
What was it, last night?
He called himself the worst pitcher. He called himself the worst pitcher in baseball, and rightfully so. He's been pretty bad.
I mean, you got to clear the mindset. That's where the pitching coach got to step in, clear the mindset, and hit the reset button. You know what I'm saying?
He hasn't been good really since before his injury. Honestly, it's been a while since he's been.
Well, it's been a long road to recovery.
It has been, and unfortunately, Doc, I don't know if the Yankees are going to make that comeback. They are there's no offense.
I didn't say we're going to make the comeback. I said I think that they're going to make a second half push. I think that they're going to jump back into that number 2 and kind of start to make that run. Because I think that Baltimore is not just going to fall like late in the last week. I think it's going to happen a little harder than I would like to see. I mean, I'm not talking like a 30-game losing streak, but over the course of the second half, I think that gap between the Orioles and the Yankees is going to start to close. And honestly, you're only talking 11 games between the two of them. I mean, you could make that up in 6 days. 6 days of standings could completely swap in this division. So it's not like it's something that's unquestionable. But I think the Yankees do make a push. I think they start to recover. They've done it before. I mean, this is typical Yankees of this century. Let's be real. Going to the AL West, Rangers very strong. Unfortunately, Houston made a lot of moves at the deadline. Texas made a couple of moves at the deadline. I think, regardless, I think Houston comes out on top. Again, just the experience, the playoff atmosphere. This team knows what it takes. They know what it means to be there. I definitely think that's them. Oakland, I think we can rule out Oakland in any facet of competition for probably the next 5 years. They're done. Last division in the American League, my division.
You don't have to talk. You don't have to talk about it, to be honest. It's a waste of your breath if you even say anything good about them.
They're just going to talk about.
They're going to. Honestly, Central is going to. Yeah, Twins are going to get to the playoffs, and then
I'm not going to say that. I think the Twins are going to take it because Cleveland was sellers at the market. White Sox were sellers at the market. Royals are just dog shit. Detroit's like that Baltimore a couple of years ago. Like they're all just finding their way into the show.
And they were trying to sell too. Even Eduardo said, "No, I am not leaving. I'm not going to LA." So they tried selling a couple players. They get rid of a couple, but I think the AL Central, they're just going to make the playoffs. Good for them, and they're going to get demolished in the playoffs, no matter who they play.
Baseball's weakest division, like you said, not even worth talking about. Just breaks my heart for my White Sox. I don't even know what to say at this point anymore. Honestly, sell the house. We did make a couple moves. We did pick up a couple top 100 prospects. Great to see that. I'm kind of hoping the White Sox just finish out losing out the rest of the year, get the number one pick for next year's draft. That would just probably be the only highlight of this season. But I mean, I could talk about the White Sox and why they're struggling all day long. So we'll touch on that another time. Moving on to the National League, the NL East. Marlins couple sneaky moves. The Mets were sellers, another disappointment. The Mets are like the White Sox of the National League as far as disappointment goes. Actually, it's kind of a toss between the Mets and the Cardinals.
And the Padres. Don't forget the Padres too.
No, Padres are fully expected at this point. This is 3 straight years of the Padres being a finished product, a polished product that should be able to win and just haven't been able to. So we'll get to that more in a little bit.
The Padres spin like they're the Yankees, but play like they're the White Sox.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get on that. We'll get on that more in a little bit. But finishing up in the NL East, Braves are going to run away with it. There's no doubt about that. Phillies are just a basket case. They're going to have a couple of good streaks. They're going to get everybody's hopes up in Philly, thinking that this is the Eagles coming out here and they're going to shit the bed. I think Miami is going to overtake Philly in the second half. I think they're going to be a close number 2, possibly even fight for a wild card spot. Mets are done. Nationals never got started. Moving on to the NL Central. Very close race between Cincinnati and Milwaukee. Honestly, my biggest surprise in the National League this year as far as unexpected, even though we expected the Cardinals and the Mets to be better. The biggest surprise to me, I think, is success by the Cubs. I think third place, only 4 games out of first in the NL Central is absolute strides for them. Definitely in a position.
I think the Reds too. Like they're one of them. Like I said, them in Arizona too. In my opinion, especially the Reds. First place. They called up their little boy wonder out there. He's changed life in Cincinnati.
Let's relax in first place. They're half a game up.
But they weren't expected to be here. That's the thing. They were expected to still be a pretty lackluster team. They're maybe a year too early too. So
I think St. Louis was the only team in the NL Central expected to be above 500.
That's true. No, I mean, I think Milwaukee too. Milwaukee still has the talent. They're still competitive.
Yeah,
they've been there.
I'll give you that. Above 500, but not true deep postseason.
I think the Reds are a year too early too. Like I think they're
a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, which is good for them. Hey, be a little early. You still have your young crop, like you said. So, like we talked about off air a lot. So, Cruz is definitely changing life there in Cincinnati, and
oh my God, it's so much fun to watch.
We'll see maybe if guys want to come play for Cincinnati with this kid, and maybe they'll change life even more for Cincinnati. So.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be a close late race between Cincy and Milwaukee, and I think Cubs even have potential to sneak in there at the end. Pittsburgh is still finding its footing in the league. St. Louis has been an absolute dumpster fire.
They were sellers.
They were sellers in some pitching, and the funny thing is, they were sellers in the only area that they could not afford to be sellers in.
Yeah.
Pitching is the one thing this team is missing, and that's all they moved was pitching.
They unloaded it. I mean, they just said, "Here you go."
They didn't sell. I mean, yeah, they got rid of Montgomery. They got rid of Hicks. They didn't sell any bats, did they? I don't think they did.
They got rid of DeJong. Paul DeJong.
So they didn't get rid of any bats.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, non-pitcher.
All right.
Got rid of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So they didn't get rid of any bats because I wouldn't really consider that a loss for them.
They said Nolan was off. Either Nolan said he's off the table, or the Cardinals. One of them said that he's not leaving. I'm pretty sure both. I don't think
Nolan said that he wasn't going anywhere, but that was off of the GM telling him that he was not being moved. The GM was very upfront with him. GM was upfront with the press in pregame interviews, saying flat out Nolan is not going anywhere.
Which he would have helped a lot. I mean, if he would have been traded, that would have been. I think teams would have been jumping all over him. I mean, teams that definitely need a big bat.
That was your opportunity. You have enough bats in the minor league that could have made up for that. You have folks that can fill that hole, I don't know. Shout out to my boy Howe. I'm sorry, man. I really wish I had better things to say about the Cardinals, but he'll even tell you. They've been a dumpster fire. It's been embarrassing.
Oh, yeah.
Him and I actually go back and forth frequently on which one of us is more upset about our teams. I don't think he understands what it means to be a White Sox fan. Because we knew what the Cardinals were missing going into the season. The White Sox were expected to be World Series contenders. Our window's closing before it even opened up all the way. So moving on to the NL West, Dodgers, Giants, Arizona. Honestly, Arizona, I know they were trying to make a couple moves. I have not caught up with today's action on the last day of the deadline, so I'm not sure. I know that they were trying to find some extra help for Zach Allen and Merrill in the front end of the rotation. I did not look to see if anything had happened with that. Obviously, the Dodgers are contenders. San Francisco has stepped up.
The Giants came up hot before the All-Star break, so they creeped up back into that NL West. Arizona fell off a little bit, and only 3.5 games out of first place. But Doc, this is usually where the Dodgers start to take off. I mean, this is August baseball. The Dodgers made their moves. I mean, I know it wasn't strong pitching, but they got pitching. They also got I don't know, fuck his name up from Cleveland. I hate saying names wrong, but yeah.
Was it Bibby?
Shortstop.
Ahmed Rosario.
Yeah, I don't like saying that because I fuck up his name all the time. So he's not horrible, but he's decent enough for the Dodgers, and that's a good glove out there. Shortstop, decent little bat. We're gonna see I think the Dodgers and the Giants.
When you're as complete of a team as the Dodgers are, that's what you're looking for. Glove in the infield, a little bit of a bat.
Brought Kiki back.
You need a guy.
They brought Kiki back too.
Yeah, no, Dodgers are going to run away just like you said. This is their time of the year. San Francisco, they got hot before the break. They're going to fall off. I think Arizona is actually going to overtake San Francisco for second place in the division. Might even be good enough for a wild card spot because we know it ain't coming from the NL Central. And honestly, the toss-up between the Phillies and the Marlins, I mean, there's no telling what can happen. The Mets are out of it. I think the Giants or Arizona, I think it's going to be a close race between them for second place. Dodgers are going to take the division. I'm gonna withdraw my comment about St. Louis being a dumpster fire. I'm going to upgrade them to a disappointment, and I'm going to reaffirm my comment dumpster fire to the San Diego Padres.
Yeah, they are.
For my third consecutive year. This is a team like you said earlier. They spend like the Yankees. I'm gonna say play like the Oakland A's. I'm not gonna disrespect my team like that because the White Sox made their moves before they were proven. This is a team that is paid for proven talent and just continues to be unable to find their way home. And you know what? Yeah. I'm sick and tired of the excuses. I'm sick and tired of hearing about the Dodgers and the Giants. You can't even beat the you guys are just dog shit. Clean house.
You spent this money. Yeah, you spent this money. There's no excuses. You did what the Dodgers did.
Not even the money. Not even the money. The best part is they sold their farm system to bring in the talent, and it hasn't produced. So now they don't even have a backup plan.
I will give it to them last year. They were in the NLCS last year, weren't they? It was they were there recently. They played the Phillies, didn't they? Wasn't them in the Phillies last year in the NLCS?
That I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure because I'm pretty sure it was them in the Phillies. But they did make a run last year, but they fell off this year. They got Bogarts. They're not fucking producing. Machado's there. Tatis is back. I don't know what more excuses.
Well, let's talk about the fucking guys that are back. Okay, Tatis. minus the PEDs and the motorcycle injuries. Okay, hitting 270, not a terrible line. Soto, 275 again, not a terrible line, but for these guys, way below the mark. Way below the mark.
Soto would have been a good name for the Yankees because his left-handed bat, the short porch. Don't know why San Diego didn't try and unload on him. And
the Yankees will not go for Soto until he's 30. The Yankees do not go for folks until they are long-established veterans, sign them to a ridiculously long contract, get 3 or 4 good years out of them, and then they're stuck with them.
Well,
paying them
we haven't even
tons of money.
We haven't done that. We haven't done that in a while. Cashman's kind of gotten a little soft. I know we did trade for Stanton, good, and we signed Cole to a big contract.
Well,
Judge was homegrown. What, Cole or Stanton?
No, Stanton. Stanton was
but that was the last big trade that we've made. Really, that I could think of. I mean, Cole, that was the first big signing that wasn't from our team in
that was
years.
A mistake. Y'all are gonna feel that.
Well, Cole's having a great year. Cole's one of the only shining lights.
No, I know that, but don't you guys have him signed until 39 or 40 or something?
I mean, I think he signed a 8 or 9 year contract, like most players.
Name me 3 starters that have pitched into their 40s in the last 10 years.
I mean, Bardo Colon is probably the only one I can think of right on the top of my head.
I don't even think he pitched in the last 10. Did he pitch in the last 10 years?
Yeah, he's definitely pitched in the last 10 years. I mean,
he pitched after 2013?
Yeah, I'm pretty. Yeah, he definitely did. So Cole's contract was a 9-year contract. He signed it in 9-year, $324 million deal. He signed it in 2020. So, I mean, we only have him until 28, really. So
how old is he?
He is 32. He'll turn 30. He'll turn 33 at the end of the year. Well, actually, he'll turn 33 in 30 days.
So you have him until 39? 38,
yeah, 38, 39.
All right.
We'll see.
Going back to the Padres. Going back to the Padres. Manny Machado. Yes, I butchered that name because he has butchered his numbers. All right. 258 for Manny Machado. Absolute embarrassment coming off of last season. One of the best contact hitters last season. Able to just put bat on the ball, poke it anywhere in the field. Great average. Coming out to start the season. What did he finish last season? Because I know that he tapered off.
Yeah.
I know he tapered off towards the end of the year.
He had a big year last year because I remember that was he was talking about if he was going to stay there.
298. And he had a hell of a start to the season last year. So 298 last season. And then my favorite. I'm going to pull this guy up just so I can fucking look at this before I get him here.
This Bogarts or
let me go back. Hang on,
Bogart?
God damn it.
We're not going to spend 30 minutes on the San Diego Padres. I mean, we still got other teams, MVPs to talk.
So 307 last year. Where's the home runs? Only 15 homers. He got 11 already this year. But yeah.
Who are we talking?
No, it is Xander Bogaerts. 307 last year, 262 this year. The money that they put in again. And this is the problem is these guys have one breakout year and these teams are chomping at the bit to come and spend all this fucking money on these guys. And it's not paying off. Honestly, I think one of the best additions for this team was Gary Sanchez.
That's sad.
Gary,
that's very sad.
The fucking tank Sanchez.
The problem with baseball in general is that, yes, Bogarts was good for a few years in Boston, and don't get me wrong, he was a stud. But paying a guy 10, 12-year contracts is ridiculous. If that's the one thing the NFL and the NBA does right, they sign 4 or 5-year contracts, and they move the fuck on if they're not good. If they're going to be good, like Mahomes is the rare exception where he was signed to a 10-year deal. And guess what? He was signed a 10-year deal going into his 5th year, his player options, when they said, we're going to give you a 10-year deal. So he still has his whole prime to compete. You know he's going to be there for 10 years, and he's going to be at a high level every single year. That's the problem with baseball, Doc, with these contracts. The Padres are definitely a big part of that. They have that with Machado. They have that with Bogarts. Tatis is on there as well. Tatis was young when they gave it to him, so I can understand that. even though it was after 1 or 2 big seasons, and that was it.
That was before the PEDs.
Yeah. We only got a couple minutes left, Doc. Are we in agreement that Acuna and Ohtani MVPs for both leagues? Acuna's got 51 stolen bases right now. He's about to have a 40 home run, 50
No,
stolen
Acuna's definitely up there. Last I saw, he was batting like 324. Ohtani, I'm just going to feel bad for you, 1 year after Judge sets the new record for AL home runs, and Ohtani's about to fucking smash it in August.
Let's pause there, because I say it all the time. That is the most bullshit celebration I've ever seen in my life. As much as I love Aaron Judge, give him his roses. That's a lot of home runs. I'm not saying anything bad about him, but it's not a fucking record. It's not. There's 2 leagues in the MLB. You have the Major League Baseball record is not 62 home runs right now. Barry Bonds said
that's true. Because I'm going to say, God damn it, we got the NL Central record in home runs.
No, you don't. He was a West member when they did that. NL West.
I'm not.
But I know. All those users, though, all the guys in the NL that have those record above Aaron Judge were all steroid users and cork bat users. So Judge is the only one. It seems like Roger Maris and Aaron Judge are the only 2 clean ones to do it, to have that 60s or higher record. So shout out to you, Aaron Judge, actually. Yeah, I mean, good for you, but it's still not a record, Doc. Right now, though, August 1st, give me your World Series. I want to hear it before we sign off. I'm gonna go Rangers and Braves. We're gonna see Texas Rangers versus the Atlanta Braves. I think the Rangers bolstered that pitching staff. They have the offense there as well. Corey Seager, Marcus Semien balling out this year. The Braves are the Atlanta Braves. We don't have to fucking dig into it. They're the best team in baseball right now. Texas Rangers versus Atlanta Braves in the World Series.
I'm going Braves.
Man, battle of the Florida Georgia teams. I might have to try and find a way to go to that if that happens. Go to the Tampa Stadium. But Doc, man, it was great talking baseball, dude. It was great getting you back in the Sack House.
Feels so good.
So good, yeah. Well, Friday's episode, we'll have Chris back if everything's going good out there his way. Chris, hopefully everything is going good when you listen. Luke, hopefully if you do listen, I know it's hard for you. Hope you're kicking ass out there in the field. Doc, we're going to cover some Hall of Fame game Friday. We're just going to break down some things we saw. Hey, you never know. You might see some good highlight plays. Those are always good to talk about. So Browns, Jets, also Hall of Fame is this week. So I know a lot of the viewers and listeners probably don't watch the Hall of Fame, but some good players going this year. Joe Thomas, Zach Thomas, Darrelle Revis, some legends right there. Rodney Barber as well. I think Rodney Barber went in this year. I hope I fucked that up. But I'm Mark Davis. That is Nick Doc Skirkwins. Shout out to you, Chris. Shout out to you, Luke. This is All About the Balls podcast, and we are out. Thank you for checking out another episode of All About the Balls podcast. We want to thank all of our listeners and supporters of the Sack House. You can listen to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe and give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram @the Sack House.